A poor girl with a desperate look in her eyes approaches a millionaire and begs, "Pretend to be my father for 5 minutes." The businessman, surprised, doesn't understand why, but decides to help her. However, she is being followed by a suspicious man. While he pretends to be her father, the pursuer draws closer, and what the girl reveals about him is something no one could have predicted. In just 5 minutes, the millionaire's life is turned upside down when he discovers that the man behind her is more dangerous than he imagined. Rain pounded the streets of Chicago, turning the city skyline into a blurred watercolor of neon lights and towering silhouettes. 7-year-old Lily Reed splashed through puddles, her small sneakers soaked through, her blonde hair plastered to her pale face. Her heart hammered against her chest as she glanced over her shoulder, catching sight of the tall man in the black coat who had been following her for 6 blocks now. His face remained partially hidden under an umbrella, but she could feel his eyes boring into her, calculating, patient. Lily's lungs burned as she rounded another corner, frantically searching for someone, anyone, who might help her. The evening rush had thinned, leaving the normally bustling financial district eerily empty. Tears mixed with raindrops on her cheeks as she felt her strength waning. The man was getting closer. Then she saw him, a tall, well-dressed man with salt and pepper hair, closing his briefcase beside a gleaming black Bentley. His chauffeur held an umbrella over him as he prepared to enter the vehicle. "Please, mister," Lily cried out, her voice cracking as she ran toward him. "Please help me. That man—" She pointed behind her, gasping for breath. "He's been chasing me. He wants to take me away." Nathan Wells, CEO of Wells Enterprises, looked down at the soaking wet child with initial skepticism. Her clothes, a simple blue sweater and jeans, were decent but worn. Her eyes, bright blue and wide with terror, locked onto his with desperate intensity. "Young lady, where are your parents?" Nathan asked, his voice firm but not unkind. His driver, Morris, stepped forward protectively. "My mom," Lily began, but her words caught in her throat as she saw her pursuer turn the corner, slowing his pace when he noticed she wasn't alone. Nathan followed her gaze and straightened to his full height. The man in the black coat stood about 20 yards away, clearly hesitating. "Sir," Morris said quietly, "should I call the authorities?" Something in the child's desperation touched Nathan. Perhaps it was the way her small hand clutched his expensive coat, or perhaps it was the unmistakable fear in her eyes, something genuine that his years in business had taught him to recognize. "Not yet," Nathan replied, then addressed the approaching man. "Can I help you with something?" The man stopped, his face partially shadowed by his hat and the darkness of the evening. "The girl is my niece," he called out, his voice unnervingly smooth. "She's run away from home. Her mother's worried sick." Lily's grip on Nathan's coat tightened. "He's lying," she whispered. "I don't know him." Nathan studied the man carefully. Years of high-stakes negotiations had honed his ability to read people, and something about this man set off warning bells. The way he stood, too casual, too controlled for someone supposedly worried about a missing child. "Well, if that's the case," Nathan said loudly, "you won't mind if we wait for the police to sort this out." He pulled out his phone as if to dial. The effect was immediate. The man's posture shifted and he took a step back. "No need for that. I must have mistaken her for someone else." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "My apologies." Without another word, he turned and walked away, disappearing around the corner. Nathan waited until the man was gone before looking down at the child, who was trembling beside him. "Thank you," she whispered, her body still rigid with fear. "Let's get you out of the rain," Nathan said, making a split-second decision. "Morris, please open the door." Once inside the warmth of the Bentley, Nathan handed Lily his handkerchief. She took it with shaking hands, dabbing at her face. "My name is Nathan Wells," he said, studying her more carefully now. "And you are?" "Lily," she replied, her voice small but steady. "Lily Reed." "Well, Lily Reed, why don't you tell me what's going on? Where are your parents? And who was that man?" Lily twisted the wet handkerchief in her hands. "My mom is missing," she said, her voice breaking. She's been gone for 2 weeks now. Nathan's eyebrows rose. Missing? Have you reported this to the police? Lily shook her head vehemently. We can't trust them. Mum said if anything happened to her, I shouldn't go to the police. She said some of them might be involved. Involved in what? Nathan asked, growing increasingly concerned. Mum was an investigative journalist. She was working on something big, something about corruption and powerful people in Chicago. Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out a small golden key. She gave me this before she disappeared. She said it would lead to the truth if anything happened to her. Nathan looked at the key, then back at the child's face. Part of him wanted to dismiss her story as childish imagination or perhaps a family dispute blown out of proportion. But something in her steady gaze challenged his skepticism. What about your father? He asked gently. He left when I was a baby, Lily replied matter-of-factly. It's just been me and Mom. And you've been alone for 2 weeks? Where have you been staying? With our neighbor, Mrs. Finley. She thinks Mom is on assignment in Washington. That's what Mom told her to say if anyone asked. Lily looked up at Nathan. But those men started watching our apartment a few days ago. Today, one of them tried to grab me when I was coming home from school. I ran. Morris caught Nathan's eye in the rearview mirror, concern evident in his expression. Nathan nodded slightly, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. Lily, I think we should contact the authorities? No. The force of her objection startled him. Mom said specifically not to. She said they couldn't be trusted, not until she had all the evidence. Evidence of what exactly? I don't know everything, Lily admitted, but it has something to do with Horizon Development Group. She pronounced the name carefully, as if she'd been practicing it. Mom said the people who run it are hurting people and destroying the city, and nobody knows. Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. Horizon Development Group was one of Chicago's largest real estate development companies and his company's most significant business partner. Their CEO, James Fitzgerald, had been his close friend and ally for over a decade. Lily, this is a very serious accusation. Horizon is a legitimate business with thousands of employees. That's what they want everyone to think, Lily said, with a certainty that seemed beyond her years. But Mom found out the truth. That's why she's gone. Nathan studied the child's face, searching for signs of deception or confusion. Instead, he found only earnest conviction and fear. Mr. Wells, Morris said from the front seat, where would you like me to drive? Nathan hesitated. The sensible thing would be to take the child to the police, regardless of her objections. But if there was even a small chance she was telling the truth, let's go home, Morris, he said finally. I'll make some calls from there and figure out what to do. Relief washed over Lily's face. Thank you, she whispered. As the Bentley pulled away from the curb, Nathan gazed out at the rain-soaked streets of Chicago. The city he thought he knew so well suddenly seemed full of shadows and secrets. For 20 years, he'd built his real estate empire with unwavering focus, paying little attention to anything beyond his business and social circles. Now, a soaking wet 7-year-old had walked into his life, carrying accusations that threatened to upend everything he thought he knew. Nathan Wells had never considered himself a heroic man. Successful, yes, strategic, absolutely, but not the kind of person who put himself at risk for others. Yet, as he watched Lily curl up in the leather seat beside him, clutching that mysterious golden key, something shifted inside him. Whether her story was true or not, she needed protection, and for reasons he couldn't fully explain, he felt compelled to provide it. Lily, he said softly, I'm going to help you find your mother. The promise hung in the air between them as the Bentley glided through the rainy streets, carrying them toward a future neither could have imagined just hours before. Nathan's penthouse apartment occupied the top floor of one of Chicago's most prestigious high-rises, offering a panoramic view of the city skyline and Lake Michigan. As Morris parked the car in the private garage, Nathan noticed Lily's eyes widening at the luxury surrounding them. You live here? She asked as they rode the private elevator upward. Yes, Nathan replied, suddenly self-conscious about his wealth in a way he rarely experienced. It's just me, though, too much space for one person, really. The elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse foyer. Nathan led Lily into the spacious living room, with its floor-to-ceiling windows, now streaked with rain. The city lights twinkled below them like earthbound stars. "Let me find you something dry to wear," Nathan said, disappearing into another room. He returned with a soft grey t-shirt that hung like a dress on Lily's small frame. "The bathroom is through there if you'd like to change." While Lily changed, Nathan instructed Morris to prepare some hot chocolate and sandwiches. He then made a phone call to his head of security, Daniel Hayes, a former FBI agent who now oversaw Wells Enterprises' security operations. "Daniel, I need you to look into something discreetly," Nathan explained, keeping his voice low. "A journalist, named Reed, first name unknown, who's been investigating Horizon Development Group. She's apparently been missing for about 2 weeks." "Any particular reason for the interest?" Daniel asked cautiously. "Her daughter found me tonight. Claims her mother disappeared while investigating corruption at Horizon." Nathan hesitated. Someone was pursuing the child, looked professional. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "I'll look into it quietly." "One more thing," Nathan added. "The child seems convinced we can't trust the police, says her mother warned her specifically against going to them." "That's concerning," Daniel replied. "I still have contacts I trust. Let me see what I can find out." Nathan ended the call just as Lily emerged from the bathroom, swimming in his t-shirt, her wet clothes bundled in her arms. "Feel better?" he asked. She nodded, her blonde hair now somewhat less tangled. "Thank you." Morris arrived with a tray of hot chocolate and sandwiches. Lily's eyes lit up at the sight of food, making Nathan wonder when she had last eaten a proper meal. As Lily ate, Nathan noticed how she kept the golden key close, occasionally touching it as if to reassure herself it was still there. "Lily, can you tell me more about your mother? Her full name would help us find her." "Sarah Reed," Lily replied between bites. "She works for the Chicago Sentinel, but she also does freelance stuff. She said, that's where the real stories are." "And what was she investigating before she disappeared?" Lily's expression grew serious. "It started with the River North project. You know that big development they're building? Mom said people were getting sick there, but Horizon was covering it up." Nathan knew the project well. Horizon had been transforming an old industrial area into luxury condominiums and high-end retail space. A billion-dollar development that had been featured in business magazines nationwide. Getting sick? How? "From something in the ground. Mom called it contamination. She said Horizon found out about it years ago but buried the reports and built anyway." Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "She said people in the government helped them hide it. Important people." Nathan felt his stomach tighten. Environmental contamination was a serious accusation, one that could destroy Horizon if proven true. And if government officials were involved in covering it up. "Did your mother have evidence of this?" Lily nodded solemnly. "She had documents and interviews with people who got sick. She kept everything in a special place." She held up the golden key. "This is part of finding it, but it's not the only thing you need." "What else is needed?" "A code. Mom made me memorize it." Lily tapped her temple. "It's safe in here. She said not to tell anyone unless I was absolutely sure I could trust them." Nathan was struck by the complexity of Sarah Reed's contingency plan. She had clearly anticipated trouble, serious trouble, and had prepared her daughter accordingly. "How did you know where to find me tonight?" Nathan asked suddenly, a thought occurring to him. Lily looked down at her hot chocolate. "I didn't. I was just running, but..." She hesitated. "When I saw you, I recognized you. Mom had your picture in her files. She said you were partners. With the bad people, but maybe you didn't know what they were doing." Nathan sat back stunned. "Your mother had been investigating me." "Not exactly you," Lily explained, "but your company and how it connects to Horizon. Mom said you might be innocent, just what?" "Just not paying attention to what was happening right under your nose." The words stung with their accuracy. Nathan had always prided himself on his business acumen, his attention to detail. But had he missed something this significant? "Mr. Wells," Morris interrupted from the doorway. "There's a Mr. Donovan on the line for you. He says it's urgent." Nathan frowned. Alex Donovan was his CFO and closest business associate, practically a brother to him after 20 years of building Wells Enterprises together. What could be so urgent at this hour? "Excuse me a moment, Lily," Nathan said, moving to take the call in his study. "Nathan, thank God you picked up." Alex's voice came through, tense and hurried. "I just got a call from James Fitzgerald. He says there's a situation developing, something about a journalist making wild accusations against Horizon. He wanted to warn us that Wells might get dragged into it." Nathan glanced toward the living room where Lily sat, still clutching her mug of hot chocolate. "What kind of accusations?" he asked carefully. "Environmental negligence, bribery of officials, the usual anti-development nonsense. But Fitzgerald says this reporter might have manufactured evidence. He's worried about the River North project getting delayed." "I see," Nathan replied, keeping his voice neutral. "Did Fitzgerald mention the journalist by name?" "Reed, I think. Sarah Reed from the Sentinel. Apparently she's disappeared, which Fitzgerald thinks is proof she was bluffing. If she had real evidence, she'd have published it already." Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. "Maybe. Listen, Alex, I have a situation here. Can we discuss this tomorrow at the office?" "Sure, but Nathan, this could affect the Hampton Heights deal. If there's negative press about Horizon right before our announcement..." "I'm aware of the implications," Nathan replied. "Let me handle it." After ending the call, Nathan stood in his study, mind racing. The Hampton Heights project was set to be Wells Enterprises' largest development to date, a partnership with Horizon worth billions. The contracts were scheduled to be signed in just 3 days. When Nathan returned to the living room, he found Lily standing by the windows, looking out at the city with an expression too solemn for a child her age. "That was my business partner," Nathan said. "He mentioned your mother." Lily turned quickly. "What did he say?" "That she disappeared after making accusations against Horizon." Nathan paused, studying her reaction. He also implied that her disappearance might suggest she was lying about having evidence. Anger flashed in Lily's eyes. "Mom never lies. She said people would say that, would try to make her look crazy or dishonest, but she had proof, real proof." "I believe you," Nathan said, surprising himself with the realization that he did. "But we need to find that proof, and more importantly, we need to find your mother." "You'll really help me?" Lily asked, her voice small but hopeful. "Yes," Nathan promised. "First thing tomorrow, we'll start looking for her." That night, Nathan set Lily up in one of his guest rooms. As he was about to leave, she called him back. "Mr. Wells." "Yes, Lily?" "Mom always says that powerful people aren't used to being told no. That's why they get away with so much. They can't imagine anyone standing up to them." Lily's eyes were serious in her small face. "Are you a powerful person, Mr. Wells?" The question caught him off guard. "I suppose some would say so." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Then you need to be extra careful to listen when people tell you things you don't want to hear. That's what Mom says." Long after he'd retired to his own room, Nathan lay awake, Lily's words echoing in his mind. Had he become exactly the type of person Sarah Reed had warned her daughter about? Someone so comfortable in his power that he'd become blind to its consequences. Outside, the rain continued to fall on Chicago, washing the streets clean but leaving the secrets buried underneath untouched. For now. Morning brought clear skies and a renewed sense of purpose. Nathan had barely slept, his mind churning with questions and implications. He found Lily already awake, sitting cross-legged on the guest bed, carefully examining the golden key. "Good morning," he said from the doorway. "How did you sleep?" "Okay," Lily replied, though the shadows under her eyes suggested otherwise. "What do we do now?" "First breakfast. Then we start looking for your mother. My security chief is already gathering information." As if on cue, Nathan's phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Found something, coming over now." Over breakfast, Nathan was struck by the strange domesticity of sharing his morning routine with a child. Lily ate her pancakes methodically, her eyes occasionally darting to the windows, as if expecting to see someone watching them. "No one knows you're here," Nathan assured her, noting her nervousness. "And this building has excellent security." Before Lily could respond, the elevator chimed, announcing Daniel's arrival. The security chief was a tall, lean man with close-cropped grey hair and the alert posture of his FBI days. "Mr. Wells?" he nodded, then looked curiously at Lily. "And you must be Miss Reed." Lily studied him cautiously but didn't respond. It's okay," Nathan said. "Daniel is helping us find your mother." Daniel placed a folder on the table. "Sarah Reed, 36, investigative journalist for the Chicago Sentinel, specializes in political corruption and corporate malfeasance. She's won several awards for her reporting." He slid a photograph across the table. A woman with Lily's blonde hair and determined expression, accepting a journalism prize. "That's Mom," Lily confirmed, touching the photo gently. "She was working on a series about urban development and environmental safety," Daniel continued. "Her editor reported her missing 12 days ago when she missed a deadline, completely out of character for her. Police investigation has been minimal." "Minimal?" Nathan questioned, his brow furrowing. "A journalist goes missing, and the police aren't pursuing it aggressively." Daniel's expression remained carefully neutral. "According to my sources, the case was initially classified as a voluntary disappearance. Her editor insisted otherwise, but the detective assigned to the case seemed reluctant to pursue alternative theories." "They're not looking because they don't want to find her," Lily said quietly, her small fingers still resting on her mother's photograph. Nathan and Daniel exchanged glances. The child's statement hung in the air between them, too disturbing to dismiss yet too accusatory to fully embrace. "What else did you find?" Nathan asked, turning back to Daniel. "This is where it gets interesting." Daniel pulled out more documents. From his folder, Reed's last 3 published articles focused on the River North development. Nothing particularly damning. Standard reporting on the project's progress, community impact, that sort of thing. But according to her editor, she was working on something bigger. Something that had her excited and concerned in equal measure. "Did the editor know what it was?" Daniel shook his head. "Reed was playing this one close to the chest, told her editor she needed absolute certainty before going to print because of who was involved." He paused. "The editor mentioned Reed had been receiving anonymous threats in the weeks before her disappearance." Lily looked up sharply. "Mum got a dead bird in our mailbox, and someone broke into our apartment but didn't take anything." Nathan felt a chill run through him. These weren't the actions of legitimate business people concerned about bad press. These were intimidation tactics. "There's more," Daniel said, lowering his voice slightly. 2 days before Reed disappeared, she had a lunch meeting with a whistleblower. Someone from inside Horizon, according to her calendar. The meeting was at the Lakeside Cafe. Did anyone see them together? Do we know who it was? That's the thing. The cafe's surveillance camera mysteriously malfunctioned that afternoon. And Reed's notebook, which she reportedly always carried, wasn't found in her apartment or at her desk at the Sentinel. Nathan sat back, processing this information. So we have a journalist investigating environmental issues at Horizon, meeting with a whistleblower, receiving threats and then vanishing, all while the police show minimal interest. He looked at Lily. "Your mother was right to be cautious." Lily nodded, a mixture of vindication and fear in her eyes. "There's one more thing," Daniel added, his tone even more serious. "I ran a check on the man Lily described following her yesterday. Based on her description and the location, I pulled footage from security cameras in the area." He placed a grainy printout on the table. "This is him." Nathan studied the image of the man in the black coat, his face partially visible as he looked up, apparently unaware of the camera. "His name is Victor Rawlins," Daniel continued. "Ex-military, dishonorably discharged 5 years ago. Since then, he's worked as private security for various corporations. His current employer, as of 6 months ago, is Garda Corps Security Services." "And who do they work for?" Nathan asked. though he suspected he already knew the answer. They're the exclusive security contractor for Horizon Development Group. The implications were clear, and they sent a wave of nausea through Nathan. If Horizon was employing professional security to pursue a 7-year-old child, what else might they be capable of? We need to move quickly, Nathan decided. Daniel, I want you to... He was interrupted by the chime of the elevator. All three of them tensed, but it was Morris who stepped into the penthouse. Mr. Wells, I apologize for the interruption, but Mr. Donovan is on his way up. He insisted it was urgent. Nathan stood quickly. Lily, go with Daniel to the study. Stay there until I come for you. Daniel nodded, understanding the need for discretion, and led Lily quickly from the room. Moments later, Alex Donovan strode into the penthouse. In his early 50s, Alex was a commanding presence with his tailored suit and confident bearing. He and Nathan had built Wells Enterprises together, starting from a small property management firm to the development powerhouse it was today. Nathan, why aren't you answering your phone? Alex demanded, his voice strained. I've been trying to reach you all morning. The Hampton Heights signing is in crisis mode. What's happened? Nathan asked, gesturing for Alex to sit. Fitzgerald called an emergency board meeting at Horizon. This morning. Apparently there's some issue with the environmental assessment for Hampton Heights. He's suggesting we postpone the signing. Alex ran a hand through his silver hair. This could cost us millions in delays, not to mention what it will do to investor confidence. Nathan felt his mind racing. Hampton Heights was their flagship project for the coming year, a luxury mixed-use development in one of Chicago's most desirable neighborhoods. Wells Enterprises had already invested heavily in the planning and preliminary work. Did Fitzgerald explain the nature of the environmental concerns? Nathan asked carefully. Alex waved a dismissive hand. Something about additional testing being required. Bureaucratic nonsense, if you ask me. But that's not the real issue. What is, then? Fitzgerald thinks this journalist, Reed, might have given her information to someone else before she disappeared. Hayes worried the story could break at any moment. Alex leaned forward. Nathan, we need to get ahead of this. If there's even a hint of environmental problems at Hampton Heights, we need to have a response ready. Nathan studied his oldest friend and business partner. Alex looked genuinely concerned, but about what exactly? The financial implications for their company or something else? Alex, what do you know about Sarah Reed's disappearance? The question seemed to catch Alex off guard. Only what Fitzgerald told me, that she was making unfounded accusations and then conveniently vanished when asked to produce evidence. He frowned. Why? What does it matter? Nathan chose his next words carefully. I'm concerned about the timing. A journalist investigates Horizon, makes allegations about environmental misconduct, then disappears just before a major deal is signed. Doesn't that strike you as suspicious? Alex stared at him for a long moment. Nathan, what are you suggesting? That Horizon had something to do with her disappearance? That's absurd. James Fitzgerald is many things, but he's not... Alex stopped abruptly. He's not what, Alex? Alex sighed heavily. Look, the development business isn't always pretty. Sometimes corners get cut, paperwork gets expedited, officials get wined and dined. You know this, we all do it to some extent. But there's a world of difference between greasing the wheels of bureaucracy and, he lowered his voice, silencing a journalist. Nathan thought of Lily, hiding in his study, and of her mother who had been brave enough to pursue a story that powerful people wanted buried. What if there really is an environmental issue at River North? Nathan pressed. What if Reed wasn't making it up? Alex's expression hardened slightly. Then Horizon has a problem, but it's their problem, not ours. Unless... His eyes narrowed. Nathan, what aren't you telling me? You've been acting strange. Since last night. Before Nathan could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Need to speak with you urgently. Alex, I need a minute, Nathan said, standing. Help yourself to coffee, I'll be right back. He found Daniel and Lily in his study, with Daniel looking grim. What is it? Nathan asked quietly. I've been doing some more digging, Daniel replied. keeping his voice low. The whistleblower Reed met with at the Lakeside Cafe. Based on credit card receipts from that day, I'm pretty sure it was Jennifer Alvarez, Horizon's environmental compliance officer, Nathan said, recognizing the name. Daniel nodded. And 3 days after Reed disappeared, Alvarez took an extended leave of absence from Horizon. No one at the company seems to know where she is. Nathan felt the pieces starting to align in a disturbing pattern. So we have 2 women connected to this investigation, both missing. There's more, Daniel continued. I managed to access some of Reed's phone records. In the week before she disappeared, she made multiple calls to this number. He showed Nathan his tablet with a phone number highlighted. Nathan stared at it, feeling as if the floor had dropped out from under him. It was Alex's private cell number. Are you sure? He asked, his voice barely audible. Daniel nodded solemnly. Positive. 5 calls in the 3 days before she disappeared, ranging from 2 to 15 minutes in duration. Nathan glanced toward the living room where his oldest friend and business partner waited, the man he had trusted implicitly for 2 decades. Why would Mom be calling your friend? Lily asked, her perceptive eyes missing nothing. I don't know, Nathan replied honestly, but I intend to find out. Be careful, Daniel warned. If Donovan is involved in whatever Reed was investigating. He might not be, Nathan interrupted, though the evidence suggested otherwise. Let me talk to him. When Nathan returned to the living room, he found Alex standing by the windows, coffee cup in hand, gazing out at the Chicago skyline. Beautiful view, Alex commented without turning around. Sometimes I think you got the better end of our partnership, having this to wake up to every morning. Alex, Nathan said, his voice carefully controlled, did Sarah Reed contact you before she disappeared? The coffee cup in Alex's hand stilled halfway to his lips. He turned slowly to face Nathan, his expression unreadable. Why would you ask that? Just answer the question, please. Alex set his cup down with deliberate care. Yes, she called me. She had questions about our environmental assessment processes, specifically regarding Hampton Heights. I answered her questions as transparently as I could, given that some information is proprietary. And why didn't? You mentioned this when we were discussing her earlier. Because it wasn't relevant, Alex replied, his tone hardening slightly. She called. I answered some basic questions. End of story. It certainly had nothing to do with her subsequent disappearance, if that's what you're implying. Nathan studied his friend's face, searching for signs of deception. What exactly did she want to know? She was interested in our soil testing protocols. She claimed to have information that Horizon had falsified environmental reports for River North, and she wanted to know if similar testing had been done at the Hampton Heights site. Alex's expression darkened. Nathan, where is this coming from? Why the sudden interest in this reporter? Nathan was about to respond when he heard a small gasp from the hallway. Turning, he saw Lily standing there, her eyes wide as she stared at Alex. You're him, she said, her voice trembling. You're the man Mom said was helping them cover it up. Alex Donovan stared at Lily, his face draining of color. Nathan, who is this child? Before Nathan could answer, Daniel appeared behind Lily, placing protective hands on her shoulders. This is Lily Reed, Nathan said quietly. Sarah Reed's daughter. Alex's eyes widened. You have the reporter's daughter here, in your home. He looked from Nathan to Daniel and back again. Have you lost your mind? Do you have any idea what you're getting involved in? Why don't you tell me, Alex? Nathan's voice hardened. Since you seem to know more than you've been letting on. A heavy silence fell over the room. Alex's gaze darted to the elevator, as if calculating his chances of making a quick exit. She was following me yesterday, Lily said suddenly, pointing at Alex. The bad men. Mum showed me your picture and said you were helping the people who were making everyone sick. Alex's expression shifted from shock to a strange, tight-lipped resolve. Nathan, I need to speak with you alone. He glanced meaningfully at Daniel and Lily. Anything you have to say can be said in front of them, Nathan replied. I trust them. Well, I don't, Alex snapped. And you shouldn't either. You have no idea what's at stake here. Nathan stepped closer to his old friend, studying his face. Then enlighten me, Alex. What exactly is at stake besides people's health and our company's integrity? Alex ran a hand over his face, a gesture of frustration Nathan had seen countless times during difficult negotiations. It's complicated. It always is when money's involved, Nathan replied coolly. After a long moment, Alex seemed to make a decision. Fine, but not in front of the child. Nathan nodded to Daniel, who gently led a reluctant Lily back toward the study. Once they were out of earshot, Alex spoke, his voice low and urgent. Yes, I knew about the contamination at River North. Horizon found traces of industrial chemicals during the initial assessment, left over from the manufacturing plant that used to be there. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to require extensive remediation before building could safely begin. And they didn't do the remediation, Nathan guessed. They did some, Alex corrected, but not to the extent required by law. It would have added nearly a year to the development timeline and tens of millions to the budget. Fitzgerald made the call to proceed anyway. And you knew about this? Alex's jaw tightened. I found out after the fact, when the first reports of residents experiencing health issues started coming in. Fitzgerald assured me it was being handled, that the affected residents were being compensated privately in exchange for their silence. My God, Alex, Nathan felt physically ill. People were getting sick, and Horizon was just paying them off. It wasn't ideal, Alex admitted, having the grace to look uncomfortable, but the alternative was a massive class action lawsuit, regulatory investigations, and potentially the bankruptcy of both Horizon and, by association, Wells Enterprises. Nathan stared at his business partner in disbelief. So you helped cover it up to protect our bottom line? I did what was necessary to protect 20 years of work, Alex retorted. Everything we've built together. And yes, I spoke with Reed when she called. I tried to convince her that pursuing this story would do more harm than good, that thousands of jobs and billions in economic development were at stake. And when she didn't back off? Alex's expression hardened. I informed Fitzgerald that she was getting close to the truth. What happened after that wasn't my doing. But you suspect what happened, Nathan pressed. After a long pause, Alex nodded. Fitzgerald has connections, people who handle problems discreetly. I never asked for details. Nathan felt as if he were seeing Alex, his friend, his partner, his trusted confidant for 2 decades for the first time. And Hampton Heights? Is there contamination there too? No, Alex said firmly. I made damn sure of that after what happened at River North. I personally oversaw the environmental assessment. Then why is Fitzgerald suddenly concerned about environmental issues there? Alex sighed heavily. Because if the River North contamination becomes public, all of Horizon's projects will face intense scrutiny. He's trying to get ahead of the story. Nathan turned away, moving to the windows to gaze out at the city he thought he knew. Somewhere out there was a missing journalist who had been brave enough to pursue the truth, regardless of the consequences. Where is Sarah Reed? He asked without turning around. I don't know, Alex replied, and Nathan could hear the genuine confusion in his voice. Fitzgerald never told me what they did with her, only that she had been taken care of. I assumed it meant they'd paid her off or scared her into leaving town. Nathan turned back to face him. But you don't believe that anymore. Alex hesitated. The longer she stays missing, the more I... He trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought. We need to find her, Nathan said firmly, and we need to stop whatever is happening at Hampton Heights. Nathan, be reasonable. If this gets out, everything we've built... I don't care. Nathan interrupted, surprising himself with the force of his conviction. A woman is missing, possibly in danger, because she tried to expose the truth. Her daughter is being hunted by professionals, and people are sick because of decisions made. By people like us, Alex. People who decided that profit was more important than safety. Alex stared at him for a long moment. You've known this child for less than a day and you're ready to throw away everything. Our company, our reputation, our future. What future is worth having if it's built on lies and suffering? Nathan countered. Now you can either help me find Sarah Reed and make this right, or you can get out of my way. Before Alex could respond, Daniel reappeared in the doorway, his expression grim. Mr. Wells, we have a situation. Security just called up. There's a man in the lobby asking for you, Victor Rawlins. The man who was following Lily yesterday, Nathan said, feeling a chill. Yes, and he's not alone. He has 2 others with him. They're claiming to be private, investigators looking for a missing child. Nathan and Alex exchanged glances. They found her, Alex said quietly. How? That doesn't matter now, Nathan replied. What matters is keeping Lily safe. He turned to Daniel. Stall them. Tell security I'm not available, that they need to come back later. Daniel nodded and stepped away to make the call. They won't give up that easily, Alex warned. If Rawlins is involved, Fitzgerald is serious about finding the girl. Why? Nathan demanded. What could a 7-year-old child possibly know that makes her so dangerous? Maybe it's not what she knows, Alex suggested. Maybe it's what she... Nathan remembered the golden key Lily had shown him, the evidence her mother collected. Exactly. If Reed left evidence with her daughter, evidence that could prove the contamination and cover-up, then the child is as much a threat as her mother. Daniel returned, his expression even more serious. Security tried to stall them, but Rawlins is insisting they have a legitimate concern about a kidnapped child. They're threatening to call the actual police if they're not allowed up. We need to get Lily out of here, Nathan decided. Now. The service elevator, Alex suggested, surprising Nathan. It leads directly to the parking garage. I can create a distraction in the lobby while you get her out. Nathan studied his partner skeptically. Why would you help us? Alex met his gaze steadily. Because whatever my failings, I never signed up for threatening children. And because, despite everything, you're still my friend, Nathan. Nathan wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered. Daniel, get Lily ready to move. And contact Morris. Tell him to bring the car around to the service entrance. As Daniel hurried to the study, Nathan turned back to Alex. If you're playing me, I'm not, Alex interrupted. But you need to understand something. These men, Rawlins and his team, they're not just security, they're fixers, and they're very good at what they do. All the more reason to get Lily somewhere safe, Nathan replied. We'll head to my lake house in Michigan. It's remote, secure, and not connected to Wells Enterprises. Alex nodded. I'll head down to the lobby, make a scene about some urgent business matter. It should buy you a few minutes. He hesitated, then added, Be careful, Nathan, and I'm sorry for all of this. As Alex departed via the main elevator, Nathan quickly gathered some essentials. Daniel returned with Lily, who clutched her backpack tightly. I've explained the situation, Daniel said quietly. She understands we need to move quickly and quietly. Lily looked up at Nathan, her eyes reflecting a maturity beyond her years. Are we going to find my mom now? Yes, Nathan promised, but first, we need to get somewhere safe. They took the service elevator down to the parking garage, where Morris waited with the Bentley. Nathan was about to usher Lily into the car when Daniel held up a hand, signaling them to wait. He drew his weapon and approached a row of parked cars, his movements silent and precise. A moment later, a man emerged from behind a concrete pillar, hands raised slightly. He was tall, with close-cropped hair and the watchful eyes of a predator. Nathan recognized him immediately from the security camera image. Victor Rawlins. That's far enough, Daniel warned, his weapon trained on Rawlins. I'm not here to cause trouble, Rawlins said, his voice surprisingly soft for a man of his size. Just doing my job. Which is what exactly? Nathan demanded, positioning himself in front of Lily. Hunting down a 7-year-old girl? Rawlins's eyes flickered to Lily, then back to Nathan. My assignment is to locate the Reed girl and bring her to my employer. I was told it was for her own protection. And you believed that? Daniel scoffed. A flicker of something, doubt perhaps or guilt, crossed Rawlins's face. I follow orders. It's what I've always done. Even when those orders involved terrorizing? A child, Nathan pressed. Rawlins remained silent, his expression unreadable. Your colleagues are upstairs, Daniel said. How did you know to wait down here? A thin smile crossed Rawlins's face. Because it's what I would do, create a diversion upstairs, sneak out the back. Well, you found us, Nathan said, trying to keep his voice steady. What happens now? Rawlins studied them for a long moment, his gaze lingering on Lily. You know, when I took this job, they told me it was about corporate security, protecting assets, preventing industrial espionage. He sounded almost reflective. 2 weeks ago, they had me watching a journalist's apartment. Now I'm chasing her. Kid, he shook his head slightly. This isn't what I signed up for. Then walk away, Nathan suggested. Let us go. It's not that simple, Rawlins replied, though his resolve seemed to be wavering. They know I found you. If I come back empty-handed, then don't go back, Daniel suggested, his weapon still trained on Rawlins. Whatever they're paying you, it's not worth becoming someone you'll hate. Rawlins's jaw tightened. You don't understand. It's not just about the money. They have leverage. What kind of leverage, Nathan asked. The kind that can ruin a man's life. Rawlins's eyes darted to Lily again, and something in his expression softened marginally. Look, I don't know what's really going on here. I was told to find the girl, that's all. But this doesn't feel right. It's not right, Lily said suddenly, stepping out from behind Nathan despite his attempt to keep her shielded. They took my mom because she was telling the truth. Now they want to take me too. Rawlins studied her, something like recognition dawning in his eyes. You're just like her, you know, same fire. You've seen my mom? Lily asked eagerly, hope flaring in her expression. The man hesitated, conflict evident on his face. I was part of the team that Howe detained her 2 weeks ago. Where is she? Nathan demanded, his hands curling into fists at his sides. A property owned by one of Horizon's subsidiaries, old warehouse on the outskirts of the city near Calumet Heights. Rawlins looked genuinely troubled now. They said she was being held temporarily, just until some big deal went through that she'd be released. Do you believe that? Daniel asked quietly. Rawlins's silence was answer enough. Why are you telling us this, Nathan pressed? Because this job has crossed a line I never thought I'd cross. Rawlins glanced at his watch. My colleagues will realize something's wrong soon. They'll check the garage next. Daniel looked to Nathan, a silent question in his eyes. Nathan nodded slightly. We need to get to that warehouse, Nathan said. Can you tell us exactly where it is? Rawlins hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. I'll do better than that. I'll take you there. Why would we trust you? Daniel asked skeptically. Because I know the security protocols, the access codes, the guard rotations. Rawlins's expression hardened with resolve. And because I need to make this right. Nathan studied the man carefully. Everything in his business experience told him not to trust someone who had so recently been hunting them. But something in Rawlins's demeanor, a soldier's weariness perhaps, or the genuine remorse in his eyes when he looked at Lily, suggested he might be sincere. If this is a trap, Daniel began. It's not, Rawlins interrupted. But we need to move now. My team upstairs will only be distracted for so long. Nathan made his decision. We'll take 2 vehicles. Rawlins rides with Daniel. Lily comes with me and Morris. They quickly transferred to a less conspicuous SUV that Daniel kept in the garage for security operations, with Morris driving Nathan's Bentley as a potential decoy. As they pulled out of the garage, Nathan saw Rawlins giving Daniel directions. In the vehicle ahead of them. Do you think we can trust him? Morris asked quietly from the driver's seat. No, Nathan replied honestly, but he's our best lead to finding Sarah Reed. Lily sat silently beside him, clutching her backpack to her chest like a shield. Nathan noticed her hands trembling, slightly. Are you okay? He asked gently. She nodded, though her expression remained solemn. Mom always said to trust my instincts about people. That child's intuition is often clearer than adult reasoning, because we haven't learned to ignore it yet. And what do your instincts tell you about Rawlins? Lily considered the question seriously. That he's scared, Not of us, but of something else, and that he wants to help but he's not sure he can. Nathan found himself impressed once again by the child's perceptiveness. I think you might be right. They followed Daniel's SUV through the city, eventually heading south toward the industrial areas near Lake Calumet. The landscape gradually transformed from the gleaming skyscrapers of downtown Chicago to aging factories and warehouses, many abandoned or repurposed, relics of the city's manufacturing past. After nearly 40 minutes of driving, they pulled into a gravel lot behind what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse. The building's brick facade was weathered, windows boarded up or broken, with faded signage that read, "Lakeside Storage and Distribution." Daniel approached their vehicle, Rawlins close behind him. According to Rawlins, there are 4 guards inside, rotating shifts. Sarah Reed is being held in a converted office space in the back. Security systems? Nathan asked. Basic cameras and alarm, controlled from a monitoring station near the main entrance. Rawlins spoke quickly, efficiently. The system requires a keycard for entry, which I have, but my access will be flagged in the system, so we'll need to move fast once we're inside. Nathan looked at the warehouse, his mind racing. We need a distraction. I can create one, Morris offered unexpectedly, something to draw the guards outside. Nathan was about to refuse. This wasn't Morris's fight after all, when Lily spoke up. We need the golden key, she said urgently, and my mom's notebook. That's where all the evidence is. Your mother's notebook is inside? Daniel asked. Lily nodded. They took it when they took her. It has everything. Names, dates, documents. Mom encoded the most important stuff, but she taught me how to read. Rawlins frowned. I haven't seen any notebook, but I haven't been inside her holding room. Security is tight around her. Only Fitzgerald's most trusted people have direct access. Nathan processed this information quickly. All right, here's the plan. Morris creates a distraction outside. Rawlins, Daniel, and I go in. We find Sarah and the evidence, then get out as quickly as possible. He turned to Lily. You stay in the car, doors locked. Lily looked like she wanted to protest, but eventually nodded. Be careful, and please find my mom. The group quickly finalized the details of their plan. Morris would use the Bentley to stage what appeared to be a drunk driver accident near the front of the warehouse, hopefully drawing out at least some of the guards. Meanwhile, Rawlins would lead Nathan and Daniel in through a side entrance, using his security credentials. If something goes wrong, get Lily to safety, Nathan instructed Morris as they prepared to move into position. There's a safe house. In Lake Forest, Daniel has the address. Morris nodded solemnly. I'll protect her with my life, sir. As Nathan prepared to leave with Rawlins and Daniel, Lily suddenly grabbed his hand. Mr. Wells, remember what Mom encoded in her notebook. The truth is hidden in plain sight. Nathan squeezed her hand reassuringly, though he wasn't entirely sure what she meant. We'll find it, I promise. With the plan set in motion, Morris drove the Bentley toward the front of the warehouse, while the others took position near a rusted side door. Within minutes, they heard the screech of tires and the crunch of metal, Morris executing his part of the plan with convincing realism. Now, Rawlins said tersely, swiping his keycard through the reader beside the door. The lock clicked open, and they slipped inside. The interior of the warehouse was dimly lit and surprisingly well maintained compared to its exterior. The main floor was largely empty, with a few shipping containers and wooden crates scattered about. Rawlins led them swiftly toward a staircase in the back. Security monitoring station is to the right, he whispered. One guard usually, the others patrol or stay with the prisoner. They could hear voices and movement from the direction of the main entrance. Morris's distraction had worked. Second floor end of the hall, Rawlins continued, leading them up the metal stairs. That's where they're keeping her. The upstairs hallway was narrow and silent, lined with what appeared to be former office spaces. Most doors were closed, but light spilled from beneath one at the far end. That's it, Rawlins confirmed. Usually, one guard posted outside. Daniel moved ahead, weapon ready. But as they approached, they found the hallway empty, no guard in sight. Something's wrong, Rawlins whispered, tension evident in his voice. There should be someone here. Nathan felt unease crawling up his spine. Maybe they responded to the distraction too. Not all of them. Standard protocol would keep at least one guard with the prisoner at all times. Daniel approached the door cautiously, testing the handle. It's unlocked. The three men exchanged wary glances before Daniel slowly pushed the door open, his weapon leading the way. The room beyond was small but comfortably furnished with a bed, desk, and bathroom facilities. It looked more like a Spartan hotel room than a prison cell, but it was empty. "She's gone," Nathan said, stating the obvious as they scanned the room. Rawlins checked the bathroom. No sign of a struggle. Could they have moved her? Daniel asked. Possibly, if they suspected someone might come looking. Rawlins examined the desk drawers, finding them empty. They've cleared everything out. Notebooks, personal effects, all gone. Nathan felt a cold dread settling in his stomach. Had they been too late? Or was this a trap? His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a phone ringing. Rawlins's cell phone. The man checked the display, his expression darkening. "It's my team leader," he answered, listening intently for a moment before responding. "Yes, I'm still looking. No sign of them yet." Another pause. "I'll check back at Wells's penthouse. Maybe they returned there." He ended the call, his face grim. "They're suspicious," he said. "We don't have much time." "This doesn't make sense," Nathan said, scanning the room again. "Why would they move her now?" Daniel was examining the walls and floor carefully. "Maybe they didn't." He pointed to a barely visible seam in the back wall. "Look at this." Upon closer inspection, they could see what appeared to be the outline of a door, expertly concealed within the wall paneling. "A hidden room?" Nathan asked. Daniel pressed against different sections of the wall until they heard a soft click. A panel slid open, revealing a small windowless space beyond. Inside, sitting on a simple cot, was a woman with blonde hair like lilies, though now streaked with strands of grey. She looked up sharply as the panel opened, her expression changing from fear to confusion. "Sarah Reed?" Nathan asked, though he already knew the answer from her resemblance to Lily. The woman stood, her posture defensive despite her obvious exhaustion. "Who are you? How did you find me?" "My name is Nathan Wells. I've been helping your daughter, Lily." At the mention of her daughter, Sarah's composure faltered. "Lily? Is she safe? Where is she?" "She's safe," Nathan assured her. "She's the one who led us to you." Sarah's gaze shifted to Rawlins and her expression hardened. You're one of them." "He's helping us now," Nathan explained quickly. "But we don't have much time. We need to get you out of here." Sarah reached under her cot and pulled out a weathered leather notebook. "Not without this. Everything I've discovered is in here." "Then let's go," Daniel urged, keeping his voice low. "Morris's distraction won't keep them occupied forever." Sarah clutched the notebook tightly to her chest, her eyes darting between the three men as if assessing their trustworthiness. Finally, her gaze settled on Nathan. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. "You're Nathan Wells, CEO of Wells Enterprises. Your company partners with Horizon." "It's complicated," Nathan replied. "But right now, all that matters is getting you out safely and back to your daughter." At the mention of Lily again, Sarah's resistance crumbled. She nodded once decisively and followed them out of the hidden room. They moved swiftly back down the hallway toward the stairs, with Rawlins taking point. The warehouse remained eerily quiet, raising Nathan's suspicions. Their entry had seemed too easy, the guard's absence too convenient. As they reached the staircase, the sound of voices drifted up from below. Rawlins held up a hand, signaling them to stop. "Two guards returning," he whispered. "We need another way down." Daniel pointed to a metal door at the opposite end of the hall. "Fire escape?" They hurried toward it, but just as Rawlins pushed the door open, an alarm blared throughout the building. "Move now!" Rawlins shouted, abandoning stealth for speed. They clattered down the rusted fire escape, the alarm continuing to wail. As they reached the bottom, Nathan caught a glimpse of Morris in the Bentley, still parked near their planned extraction point. Lily's face appeared briefly in the window, her eyes wide with anticipation. They were halfway across the gravel lot, When the side door of the warehouse burst open, two men in dark clothing emerged, weapons drawn. "Run!" Daniel shouted, positioning himself between the guards and the others. "Get to the car!" Nathan grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her toward the Bentley. Behind them, he heard Daniel exchange shots with the guards, the sound of gunfire echoing off the warehouse walls. They reached the vehicle just as Morris flung the passenger door open. Lily lunged forward at the sight of her mother, nearly tumbling out of the car in her eagerness. "Mom!" she cried, tears streaming down her face. Sarah swept her daughter into her arms, holding her tightly. "Lily, oh my God, Lily, you're safe." Nathan turned back toward the warehouse. Daniel was taking cover behind a dumpster, still exchanging fire with the guards. Rollins had disappeared. "We need to help Daniel," Nathan said to Morris. But before Morris could respond, the sound of an approaching vehicle drew their attention. A black SUV was speeding toward them from the far side of the lot. "More security," Morris warned. "We need to go now, sir." Nathan hesitated, torn between helping Daniel and ensuring Sarah and Lily's safety. The decision was made for him when Daniel suddenly sprinted from his position, zigzagging toward them as he provided covering fire. "Go!" Daniel shouted as he neared the car. "I'll hold them off." "Not without you," Nathan insisted, pulling Daniel into the vehicle as Morris gunned the engine. The Bentley shot forward, tires spitting gravel, just as the black SUV screeched to a halt near the warehouse. Nathan caught a glimpse of men pouring out, weapons ready, before Morris swerved onto the main road and accelerated away. "Is everyone okay?" Nathan asked, looking around at the others. Sarah held Lily close, both of them trembling but unharmed. Daniel was checking his weapon, his expression focused. "I think we're clear for now," Morris reported, watching the rearview mirror carefully. "No signs of pursuit yet." Nathan turned to Sarah. "We need to get somewhere safe, somewhere they won't look for us." "My lake house," Daniel suggested. "It's off the grid, about 2 hours from here. No connection to Wells Enterprises or any of us officially." Nathan nodded his agreement. "Set a course, Morris." As the Bentley settled into a less conspicuous speed on the highway heading out of Chicago, Nathan finally had a moment to process what had just happened. They had successfully rescued Sarah Reed, but they'd also made powerful enemies in the process. Horizon would know by now that Nathan had chosen sides, and they wouldn't take that lightly. "Thank you," Sarah said quietly, breaking into his thoughts. She still held Lily close, as if afraid her daughter might disappear if she let go. "For believing Lily. For finding me." "Your daughter is quite remarkable," Nathan replied. "She never gave up on you." Sarah smiled softly, brushing Lily's hair from her forehead. "She's always been stubborn that way." Her expression grew more serious. "But you still haven't explained why the CEO of Wells Enterprises would risk everything to help us. Your company has millions invested in projects with Horizon." "I didn't know," Nathan said simply. "About the contamination, the cover-up, not until Lily found me." Sarah's eyes narrowed slightly. "But your partner did. Alex Donovan was directly involved in burying the environmental reports." Nathan felt a pang at the mention of Alex. "Yes, I've since learned that. But that's not who I am, or what my company stands for. At least, it's not what it should stand for." "Noble words," Sarah commented, though her tone wasn't unkind. "But they won't mean much to the families affected by the contamination at River North." "I know," Nathan acknowledged, "which is why I want to help make this right. Your notebook, the evidence you've collected, we need to make it public." Sarah clutched the leather-bound notebook tighter. "That was always the plan. But Horizon has powerful friends, including in the media. My own editor was pressured to kill the story." "Then we need to find another way," Daniel interjected. "Social media, independent, news outlets direct to regulatory agencies." "First, we need to ensure you're both safe," Nathan emphasized. "Once we reach Daniel's lake house, we can plan our next steps." The remainder of the drive passed in tense silence, everyone lost in their own thoughts. Lily eventually fell asleep against her mother, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Sarah continued to hold her, occasionally pressing soft kisses to her daughter's head, as if reassuring herself that she was real. Daniel's lake house turned out to be a modest cabin nestled among pine trees, overlooking a small private lake. It was remote, accessible only by a winding dirt road, and equipped with solar panels and a generator for power. "It's not much," Daniel apologized as they entered, "but it's secure. No one knows about this place except my closest family. It's perfect," Sarah assured him, guiding a sleepy Lily to the sofa. While Morris secured the perimeter and Daniel checked the communication systems, Nathan and Sarah settled at the kitchen table, the leather notebook between them. "Show me what you found," Nathan said. Sarah opened the notebook carefully. Inside were meticulously documented interviews, soil test results, internal memos and photographs, all evidence of Horizon's knowledge of the contamination and subsequent cover-up. Hexavalent chromium, lead, benzene, the soil at River North, was toxic with industrial waste, Sarah explained, pointing to test results. Horizon's own environmental assessment from 5 years ago showed levels far exceeding EPA standards. But they buried the report and proceeded with construction anyway. Nathan studied the documents, feeling a growing horror. "And people living there now are experiencing health effects?" Sarah nodded grimly. "Respiratory issues, skin conditions, increased cancer rates. Horizon has been quietly paying medical bills in exchange for silence, but the contamination is spreading through the groundwater. It's affecting communities beyond River North now." "How did you get these internal documents?" Nathan asked, impressed by the thoroughness of her investigation. Jennifer Alvarez, Horizon's environmental compliance officer. She was troubled by what was happening and finally decided to blow the whistle. Sarah's expression darkened. "The day after she gave me these documents, she disappeared. I fear she may have suffered the same fate intended for me." Nathan thought back to what Daniel had discovered about Alvarez's extended leave of absence. "We need to find her too," he said. "First, we need to make this public," Sarah insisted. "The Hampton Heights development is scheduled to break ground soon, right? If the same people who covered up River North are involved." "They're not," Nathan assured her. "I made certain of that after I learned about River North from your daughter. The environmental assessments for Hampton Heights are legitimate." Sarah looked at him skeptically. "How can you be sure?" Nathan hesitated, then decided on complete honesty. "Because Alex Donovan, after learning about what happened at River North, insisted on overseeing the Hampton Heights assessments personally. He wanted to ensure there wouldn't be a repeat. The same Alex Donovan who helped cover up the River North contamination." Sarah's voice was heavy with disbelief. "Yes," Nathan acknowledged. "Alex made a terrible choice with River North, but he tried to prevent the same mistake with Hampton Heights." "That doesn't absolve him," Sarah said sharply. "No, it doesn't," Nathan agreed. "Nothing can undo the harm already caused, but we can prevent future damage by exposing the truth now." Sarah studied him carefully. "You're going to lose everything. If you do this, your partnership with Horizon, possibly your company itself." "Some things are more important than business," Nathan replied, surprising himself with how deeply he meant it. "Like being able to look yourself in the mirror." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of an approaching vehicle. Daniel immediately went to the window, weapon ready. "Single vehicle," he reported tensely. "Black sedan moving slowly. Looks like it's searching for something." "How did they find us?" Morris asked, joining Daniel at the window. "I don't know," Daniel replied. "This place isn't registered in my name. No one should know about it." A terrible suspicion formed in Nathan's mind. Unless someone followed us, someone who knew exactly where we were going. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The only people who knew their destination were those in the car, and Rawlins, who had disappeared during the firefight at the warehouse. "I never trusted him," Daniel muttered. The sedan slowed as it approached the cabin's driveway. Through the trees they could make out a single figure behind the wheel. "Get Lily and Sarah to the back room," Nathan instructed Morris. "Daniel, cover the front." As Morris ushered the Reeds to safety, Nathan and Daniel positioned themselves, strategically, watching as the car finally came to a stop in front of the cabin. The driver's door opened slowly, deliberately. Nathan felt his breath catch as Alex Donovan stepped out of the vehicle, alone and apparently unarmed. "It's Alex," Nathan said, hardly believing his eyes. Could be a trap, Daniel warned. He could have led Horizon's security here. No, Nathan said after a moment of consideration. If he wanted to betray us, he would have brought backup. Nathan moved to the door, ignoring Daniel's protests, and stepped onto the porch. Alex stood by his car, hands visible, making no move to approach. "How did you find us?" Nathan called. "Out. I put a tracker on your phone months ago," Alex replied. "After those threats we received during the Riverside Tower development. For your protection, or so I told myself." "Why are you here?" Nathan demanded, still maintaining his distance. Alex looked tired, the weight of recent events etched on his face. "Because I made a choice, Nathan. The same choice you made when you decided to help that little girl." "And what choice is that?" To do the right thing, finally." Alex reached into his car and pulled out a laptop and a file folder. "I brought you something. Everything I have on Horizon's cover-up at River North. Internal memos, board meeting minutes, financial transfers to silence victims. All of it." Nathan stared at his partner in disbelief. "Why now?" "Because Fitzgerald is planning something desperate. When he learned Sarah Reed had escaped and you were involved, he called an emergency meeting with his inner circle." Alex's expression was grim. "They're going to destroy all evidence of the contamination tonight, and they're discussing more. Permanent solutions for anyone who might expose them." "You were part of that meeting?" Nathan asked, struggling to reconcile this version of Alex with the man who had helped cover up the contamination in the first place. "Yes," Alex admitted. "And when I heard what they were planning, I realized I couldn't be part of it anymore." He gestured toward the cabin. "I came to warn you, and to help, if you'll let me." Nathan studied Alex's face, searching for signs of deception. After 20 years of friendship and partnership, he'd thought he knew the man standing before him. Now he wasn't so sure. "How do I know this isn't another manipulation?" Nathan asked. "Another way to protect Horizon or yourself?" Alex met his gaze steadily. "You don't. All I can offer is my word, which I know doesn't count for much right now, and this." He held up the folder and laptop. "Everything I've gathered over the past 2 years, enough to bring down Horizon and everyone involved in the cover-up, including me." After a long moment, Nathan nodded toward the cabin. "Come inside, but Daniel will be watching you." Inside, the tension was palpable. As Alex set the laptop and folder on the kitchen table, Sarah had returned from the back room, leaving Lily with Morris, and now stood with her arms crossed, her expression cold as she regarded Alex. "Mr. Donovan," she said, her voice tight, "I believe we've spoken on the phone." "Ms. Reed," Alex acknowledged with a nod. "I owe you an apology, though I know that's inadequate given what you've been through. Save your apologies for the families at River North who are suffering because of your company's greed," Sarah replied sharply. Alex didn't flinch from her anger. "You're right, and they deserve more than apologies. They deserve justice and compensation." He opened the laptop. "Which is why I brought this. Financial records proving Horizon established a slush fund specifically to pay medical expenses for affected residents in exchange for their silence. The fund was approved by the board with full knowledge of the contamination." Sarah moved closer, professional interest momentarily overriding her personal animosity. "How high does this go?" "All the way to the top," Alex confirmed. "James Fitzgerald personally authorized the cover-up and directed the legal team to draft the non-disclosure agreements for affected residents." Nathan watched as Sarah began examining the documents, her journalistic instincts clearly engaged. "Why did you help them cover it up?" he asked Alex quietly. Alex sat heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. At first, it was presented as damage, control. Fitzgerald assured me the contamination was minor, that the remediation they'd done was sufficient. By the time I learned the full extent of it, we were already deeply invested in multiple projects with Horizon. He ran a hand over his face. And then it became about self-preservation. If the truth came out, Wells Enterprises would be implicated too. Everything we'd built would be destroyed. "So you chose the company over people's health," Sarah said, looking up from the documents. "I did," Alex admitted, not attempting to justify himself. It's a choice I've had to live with, and one I can't live with anymore. Daniel, who had been standing guard near the window, spoke up. Not to interrupt this confession, but we have a more immediate problem. If Fitzgerald is planning to destroy evidence tonight, we need to act now. And if he knows about this location... He doesn't, Alex interrupted. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. As far as Fitzgerald knows, I'm searching for Nathan independently. Even so, we can't stay here long, Daniel insisted. It's not secure enough. Nathan nodded in agreement. We need to make this evidence public immediately, before Fitzgerald can bury it deeper or... He glanced toward the back room where Lily was. Take more drastic measures. My editor at the Sentinel won't touch this, Sarah said. Horizon has too much influence there. We need another outlet. What about a press conference? Nathan suggested. Wells Enterprises is still respected. If I call a press conference as CEO, journalists from every major outlet will attend. And say what? Alex asked. That your own company has been partnering with corrupt developers. The board will remove you before you finish speaking. Maybe that's a price worth paying, Nathan replied quietly. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, Sarah spoke. There's another option, she said. My contact at the Environmental Protection Agency. She's been trying to investigate Horizon for years, but lacked concrete evidence. With what we have now, both my research and Alex's internal documents, she could initiate an official investigation immediately. Fitzgerald has friends in regulatory agencies too, Alex warned. Not this one, Sarah assured him. Rebecca Winters is incorruptible, and she has the authority to issue emergency stop work orders for all of Horizon's projects pending investigation. Nathan considered this. How quickly could she act? If we get her everything tonight, by morning, Sarah said confidently. That still leaves the Hampton Heights signing scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, Alex pointed out. If we're going to stop it, we need to act before then. Nathan made his decision. We'll do both. Contact your EPA connection immediately, Sarah. And I'll call a press conference for tomorrow morning, just before the Hampton Heights signing. Fitzgerald will try to stop you, Alex warned. Let him try, Nathan replied, a newfound resolve hardening his voice. He's been operating in the shadows for too long. It's time to bring everything into the light. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Sarah worked with her EPA contact, sending the evidence via secure channels. Daniel arranged for additional security for the press conference, recruiting trusted former colleagues to supplement Wells Enterprises' regular team. Morris prepared to transport everyone safely back to the city. Through it all, Lily remained remarkably calm, staying close to her mother, but watching everything with those perceptive blue eyes. At one point, she approached Nathan as he was reviewing documents with Alex. "Mr. Wells," she said solemnly, "thank you for believing me. Most grown-ups wouldn't have." Nathan smiled at her. "Most grown-ups could learn a lot from you, Lily. Your courage and determination are remarkable. Mom says sometimes doing the right thing is scary, but that doesn't make it any less right." "Your mom is a very wise woman," Nathan replied, glancing at Sarah, who was deep in conversation with the EPA official via video call. "Are you scared?" Lily asked, her gaze unnervingly direct. Nathan considered the question honestly. "Yes," he admitted. "I'm about to risk everything I've built over the past 20 years. My company, my reputation, possibly my future. That's frightening." "But you're doing it anyway," Lily observed. "Yes, because some things matter more than success or money or power." Lily nodded, satisfied with his answer. "That's what makes you different from the bad guys. Not that you're not afraid, but that you do the right thing even when you are afraid." With those surprisingly profound words, she returned to her mother's side, leaving Nathan to ponder the wisdom that sometimes came from the most unexpected sources. By dawn, they were ready to move. Sarah's EPA contact had received all the evidence and was preparing to launch an official investigation. The press conference was scheduled for 9 a.m. at Wells Enterprises headquarters, just hours before the Hampton Heights signing ceremony. As they prepared to leave the lake house, Alex pulled Nathan aside. You understand what you're risking, right? This isn't just about Hampton Heights anymore. Once this gets out, every project Wells has ever done with Horizon will be scrutinized. The financial implications could be devastating. I know, Nathan replied calmly, but I can build another company if necessary. I can't build another conscience. Alex seemed to search for words. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, Nathan. Not just for the cover-up, but for betraying your trust. You deserved a better partner than I've been. We all make choices, Alex. What matters is what we do when we realize they were the wrong ones. Nathan extended his hand. It's not too late to make different choices. Alex took the offered hand, a mixture of gratitude and regret in his eyes. I hope you're right. They traveled in 2 vehicles back to Chicago, Nathan, Sarah, and Lily with Morris in the Bentley, while Daniel and Alex followed in Daniel's SUV. The city skyline came into view just as the sun fully rose, painting the glass towers in golden light. It's strange, Sarah commented, gazing at the approaching city. 2 weeks ago, I was just a journalist pursuing a story. I never imagined it would lead to all this. No one ever does, Nathan replied. We all think we're just living our lives, making small decisions day by day. We don't see how those decisions shape who we become until suddenly we're faced with a choice that defines us. They arrived at Wells Enterprises headquarters to find journalists already gathering. News of the hastily called press conference had spread quickly, fueled by speculation about the Hampton Heights project and Nathan's unexpected absence the previous day. Security escorted them through a private entrance, bypassing the growing media presence in the lobby. In Nathan's office, final preparations were underway. Sarah reviewed her notes one last time, while Daniel briefed the security team. Any word? From Fitzgerald? Nathan asked Alex, who had been monitoring communications from Horizon. Nothing yet, Alex replied. But he'll know about the press conference by now. He won't take this lying down. As if on cue, Nathan's private line rang. The caller ID displayed James Fitzgerald's name. Nathan answered, putting the call on speaker. James? Nathan. Fitzgerald's voice was smooth, controlled, betraying nothing of what must be his inner turmoil. I understand you've called a press conference this morning. May I ask what this is regarding? I think you know exactly what it's about, James. A brief pause. If this is about those ridiculous allegations from that reporter, I strongly advise you to reconsider. Such unfounded accusations could damage both our companies unnecessarily. They're not unfounded, James. I've seen the evidence. The soil tests, the internal memos, the hush money payments to sick residents, all of it. Another longer pause. I see. And you're prepared to destroy a 20-year relationship over this, to potentially bring down your own company alongside mine? If that's what it takes to do the right thing, yes. Fitzgerald's voice hardened. Before you make a decision you can't take back, I should inform you that the Hampton Heights contracts have already been modified to include substantial penalties for public disparagement. If you proceed with whatever you're planning, Wells Enterprises will face litigation that will bankrupt it within months. Nathan looked at Alex, who nodded grimly, confirming Fitzgerald's claim. I understand the consequences, Nathan replied steadily, and I'm proceeding anyway. Then you're a fool, Fitzgerald snapped, his composure finally cracking. Alex, he called out, apparently aware that others were listening. Talk some sense into your partner before he destroys everything you've built. Alex stepped closer to the phone. I've already tried, James, but it turns out Nathan has something I lost somewhere along the way, a moral compass. You too? Fitzgerald sounded genuinely surprised. Well, I always knew Nathan was an idealist at heart, but I expected better from you, Alex. His voice turned cold. You both will regret this. The line went dead. Well, Nathan said into the silence that followed, I think that confirms we're doing the right thing. At precisely 9 a.m., Nathan stepped up to the podium in the Wells Enterprises Conference Center, facing a room packed with journalists. Cameras flashed as he adjusted the microphone, his expression solemn but determined. Good morning. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I've called this press conference to address a matter of public health and corporate responsibility that can no longer remain hidden. He paused, his gaze sweeping the room before continuing. For the past 5 years, Wells Enterprises has partnered with Horizon Development Group on numerous projects throughout Chicago. Today, I am severing that relationship permanently due to evidence of serious ethical violations and public safety concerns at Horizon's River North development. A murmur ran through the assembled journalists. In the front row, Sarah sat with Lily beside her, both watching intently. Alex stood at the side of the room, his expression a mixture of resignation and relief. Specifically, Nathan continued, I have become aware that Horizon knowingly built residential and commercial properties on contaminated land at River North and subsequently covered up evidence of that contamination when residents began experiencing health issues. The murmur grew louder. Camera flashes intensified. As CEO of Wells Enterprises, I take full responsibility for our company's association with these projects, and I am committed to making this right. Effective immediately, Wells Enterprises is establishing a fund to assist affected residents with medical expenses and relocation costs. We are also cooperating fully with an EPA investigation that has been launched this morning. At the back of the room, Nathan noticed movement. James Fitzgerald had arrived, flanked by lawyers. Their eyes met briefly across the crowded space, Fitzgerald's gaze cold with fury. I will now introduce Sarah Reed, an investigative journalist who has been researching this issue for months and whose courage in pursuing the truth despite significant personal risk has brought these violations to light. Sarah rose from her seat, squeezing Lily's hand before approaching the podium. As she began to present her findings, complete with photographs, soil test results, and testimony from affected residents, the room fell into a stunned silence. The time the press conference concluded 2 hours later, the story had gone national. Social media was flooded with images from Sarah's presentation, particularly those showing children from the River North area suffering from unexplained rashes and respiratory issues. The EPA had issued emergency orders halting work at all of Horizon's active development sites pending investigation, and James Fitzgerald had been served with subpoenas as he attempted to leave the building. In the aftermath, Nathan found himself in his office with Sarah, Lily, Alex, and Daniel, watching the news coverage unfold on the large wall-mounted screen. It's really happening, Sarah said, a mixture of vindication and disbelief in her voice. After all this time, people are finally listening. They're listening because you never gave up, Nathan told her. You and Lily both. Alex, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. The board is meeting now. They'll likely ask for my resignation. And yours, Nathan. I know, Nathan replied calmly, and I'll give it to them. Wells Enterprises needs a fresh start after this. What will you do? Sarah asked. Nathan looked thoughtful. I'm not sure yet, but I think there's a need for development. That puts people first. That prioritizes health and safety over profit margins. That sounds like a company I might actually want to write positive stories about, Sarah said with a small smile. Mom, Lily said suddenly, can Mr. Wells come to my school for Career Day next month? I want to show everyone the man who helped save you. The adults exchanged glances, then broke into laughter, the first moment of genuine lightness they'd experienced in days. I would be honored, Nathan replied, touched by the child's request. As the afternoon wore on, reports continued to pour in. More residents from River North came forward with their stories. Jennifer Alvarez, the whistleblower from Horizon, was located safely in Wisconsin, where she'd been hiding with relatives. And Victor Rollins, in an unexpected turn, provided a full statement to the authorities about his role in Sarah's detention, apparently seeking redemption for his part in the affair. By evening, both Nathan and Alex had tendered their resignations to the Wells Enterprises board, who accepted them with reluctant understanding. The Hampton Heights signing had been indefinitely postponed, and Horizon's stock had plummeted as investors fled the scandal-plagued company. Nathan stood at his office window one last time, watching as the city lights came on against the darkening sky. Sarah joined him, her expression reflective. Thank you, she said simply, for everything. I should be thanking you, Nathan replied. You and Lily showed me what really matters. What happens now? Sarah asked. Nathan turned from the window to face her. Now we keep going. We make sure the affected families get the help they need. We make sure nothing like this happens again. He paused, then added more softly, and maybe when the dust settles, we see where life takes us. Sarah smiled, a hint of possibility in her eyes. I think Lily would like that. As if summoned by the mention of her name, Lily appeared in the doorway. Mum, Mr. Wells, are we going home now? Nathan and Sarah exchanged a glance, a shared understanding passing between them. Yes, Lily, Sarah replied, reaching for her daughter's hand. We're going home, and this time we don't have to be afraid. 3 months later, a new sign hung outside a modest office in downtown Chicago. Reed Wells Foundation for Environmental Justice. Inside, Sarah and Nathan worked side by side, providing support for families affected by environmental contamination and advocating for stricter regulatory oversight of development projects. Alex Donovan, having cooperated fully with authorities and faced the consequences of his actions, now served as an advisor to the foundation, using his insider knowledge of the industry to help prevent similar situations in the future. His path to redemption would be long, but it had begun with truth. Lily, now 8 years old, had become the unofficial mascot of the foundation, her story of courage inspiring others to come forward. Her school project on environmental safety had won first prize, and her mother couldn't have been prouder. As for Nathan, he had found something more valuable than all the buildings he had ever constructed: purpose. Each day brought new challenges, but also the satisfaction of knowing he was finally building something truly worthwhile, a legacy of integrity that would outlast any skyscraper. On a bright spring morning, as Nathan watched Lily cheerfully arranging posters for an upcoming community meeting, Sarah approached with a cup of coffee for him. "Penny, for your thoughts?" she asked, noticing his contemplative expression. "I was just thinking about that rainy night when Lily found me," he replied. "How one small moment can change everything." Sarah followed his gaze to her daughter, who was now explaining the posters to a visitor with characteristic enthusiasm. "She always said she knew you would help us, even when I was locked in that room, wondering if I'd ever see her again. Somehow I felt she would find a way. She's extraordinary," Nathan said, "like her mother." Sarah smiled, the warmth in her eyes suggesting possibilities still unfolding between them.